I will mention, I think the B stream is also doing Rex vs. Naxon, so check that out too.
Ooh.
But right in the blue, this is YoGer.
Really keen to see how this guy plays. I know absolutely nothing about him. Very excited to see new blood in the Taiwanese region. And in the bottom left, he's got his lab coat, his beakers, crazy hair. He's about to create something magical. It is Haas. Represented by J Team. Of course, it's a Forge first Zeph. And it's up against a pool first. Oh my.
I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. All weekend, I was like, we'd have 4 Protoss in one group. Surely there's going to be at least one cannon rush. No, everybody was very respectful. And, you know, I like a Forge first.
Do you? As a player, Forge first is something you really like?
Okay, as a spectator, not as a player, right?
I was going to say, I'm like, I don't know, Zeph. I've heard tale of maybe a struck desk or two or a couple of CVPs.
Wild.
No, never.
Look, honestly, a Forge first isn't too bad even on the ladder if you've gone pool first. That definitely makes your life a hell of a lot easier, and we'll see here that he didn't even bother after getting that scout. He's like, yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. I think what happened there for Haas is that he saw that the hatchery was a little bit later, and he's like, okay, you've gone pool first. So he's not bothered to drop the pylons on the cannons. He is forced to make a Zealot back at home, though, because, you know, when you get the Forge first, your Gateways later, your Cybercores later, everything that's good against early game Zerg units is not here. So you need to get yourself a little bit of a choke point, get that Zealot in the hole, make sure that this cluster of early game Lings from YoGer don't do anything.
Yeah, he should be totally fine. He's made himself a nice little nest there for Zealot, and all YoGer can really do is be a pest, nibble at that building, but that will be the extent of it for the moment. Zealot is trying so hard to spook him away.
Dude, he's trying so hard. It's like his mum's watching right now. He just really wants to impress everybody. He's like... I'm sorry, it's really late. Adept is on the way, and now the Lings need to hightail and get on out of there. Just drones out here from YoGer. So, I mean, it's just about when you want to take that third base, but with the Lings working on the natural of Haas, they haven't really been dealing with this pylon. So where do you take that? It's 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think he's just taken the slow and steady wins the race approach here. So he will nibble it down now, but he does have to be a bit careful because there's an Adept coming. There's a second one to follow up if he wants to send that one across as well. So that's not ideal when you're trying to take it naturally. He does finish off the pylon, and now he's free to chase that Adept around. But oh gosh, he's so close to getting that drone.
This Adept is one powerful warrior lady. She doesn't care about clusters of Lings. Needs to be a lot more where that came from. A Stargate follow-up here from Haas. Disappointingly standard follow-up here from the Forge first.
Don't call it yet. Don't call it yet. Anything's possible. I feel like everybody's doing Stargate at the moment. There's, you know, in every matchup, a lot of Phoenix, a lot of Oracle, even if it's something like Oracle into Adept, or I mean, we even saw double Stargate today, so it feels like a kind of Stargate meta in some ways, but it's also down to the players. Some people are very much more interested in getting a Twilight. Bliss comes to mind in that scenario. But man, these Adepts got some work done.
I tell you what, 2 Adepts for 7 drones, every Protoss will be happy with that any day of the week. And the Phoenix got to get rid of that Overlord. YoGer doesn't have any Overlords in production until just now, so he's got a itty bitty bit of a block, but he does have a good round of drones out, and it looks like he spent his lava, so it's not all bad.
Yeah. And he's seen the Stargate because it's tucked in there at the front, so the Lings can actually scout it when he runs up like that. So he's getting himself a spore already, and would you look at that, Haas is actually going to go into that Stargate into Adept build.
Hell yeah. It's Prince from Adepts on the other side of the map. He's currently got himself 1 warp gate, going to go up to 6 with a robo and the Stargate as well. Phoenix sort of leading the scout here for Haas. He sees the Roach Warren, which is at the 3rd base. It gets me a little bit concerned. I actually get a little worried. I get why the Roach Warren is there. You're like, oh, potentially he doesn't scout this and overcommits, and then I can just overwhelm with roaches and the adepts are dead. But it is also a tiny bit exposed if the adepts start to spiral out of control here. Losing the Roach Warren is a very, very, very bad thing for YoGer when you have Resonating Glaives and 6 to 8 gateways.
I think you kind of banking on the fact that there's more valuable things to get at the moment, but for sure, if he gets sort of stuck at the third base, then yeah, that's something you can definitely target down. So potential for a lot of damage here, especially since there's a ton of drones on that third base, whereas usually maybe like him a little bit more at the natural. He's going to come in with the Oracle first, and of course, Sano showed us just before, there's a DT shrine behind this too.
Hell yeah, there is. Yeah, the Adept Printer build does sometimes have a Dark Shrine behind it. And, it's more of the cheekier follow-up for the Adept Printer. But the Dark Shrine, I mean, this is Haas. Of course he's going to go for the cheeky option. This means he has access to not only Cloak Boys, but also potentially Archons, which is fantastic against all Zerg units.
And this is so hard to defend against, not just because Adepts are so slippery, but because they can actually target down things so quickly with this amount of them. Even a handful of roaches can be too little to defend against this. And in come the DTs. YoGer targeting down the Warp Prism. He does have Lair, so he's getting himself an Overseer. These Adepts are still kicking.
The Adepts still kicking, and like I said, when you have enough Adepts, they can actually start killing buildings and trading with roaches, and they're doing exactly that over here. Immortal production back at home for Haas. He knows that there is a very high likelihood that YoGer is going to have a lot of roaches left over, and he may potentially counterattack, so getting that Immortal is very important, but he's also getting a third, so it's like a tiny bit greedy, I think, for Haas to try and get this third right now, but he might get away with it. He could always recall the Warp Prism, bring the DTs back home. An Overseer would need to come with the roaches to actually defeat Dark Templar, and then you also have the ability to potentially just make an Archon or two and juggle those around with a Warp Prism, and that is very, very hard to deal with when you just have roaches across the map as well, way off creep. The roach speed did finish up for YoGer, so they have that mobility at least, but it doesn't look like they're in position for this Prism in the main.
He's hit a bit of a supply block again there, just got 2 supply left, so he's just churning out
5 Overlords.
5, and that's really not ideal. I mean, he evacuates nicely away from the 2 Archons. That's a bit of lost mining time, but at least he doesn't lose anything there. He really hasn't had an opportunity to drone yet, so we can see Haas starting to run away with the economy lead there as he starts climbing towards 60 workers. So YoGer, maybe he needs to put on a bit of pressure, but it's hard to leave the base when you've got a Warp Prism and a stack of Adepts on opposite sides of the map.
And Haas is starting to get a bit more of a technical army here, going into Blink Stalkers with Disruptors. And I love it. I think that Blink Stalker Disruptor is an extremely good army against particularly Roach Ravager. There are a lot of Lings coming out for YoGer, but then Haas can just massage his composition into something that's a little bit better against that. You can go for Adepts as well. What he won't be able to do here is go for charge lots, because when you go for charge lots against Zerg and you're playing Disruptor, you have to micro the charge lots back. Whereas the Adepts with their range ability, Stalkers with their range ability, they're at a lot less danger of friendly fire against Disruptor. So you can just fire those Novas out and let the Zerg take it to the face.
All right, well, up he comes. Stasis Ward gets taken out before it triggers. There's another one to the north. Disruptor shot does okay, but not a huge amount. But any free damage is good damage. He's starting to target down some of these Ravagers with the Oracle. A few of those get caught on the right-hand side, though. And Haas has just been patient with how he engages his army, trying to chip away at it. Looks like YoGer's starting to press the issue.
Yeah, he's got a lot of roaches, but with those Ravagers out of the mix, that means that he doesn't have the access to the Biles, and in comes those Disruptors, one from the north side, another one from the natural as well. Even the Oracle getting a piece of it, and it looks like Haas is going to be able to hold on. He's just got a little bit too much Protoss, and he's got that Prism juggling things around out of harm's way.
Really nice target firing from YoGer, just trying to get what he can on the retreat there. But now Haas has a full economy and a whole lot of units and +1 about to finish up. YoGer's hopefully looking towards Aspire, thinking, wouldn't that be a nice way to go? And he has been a muta player in a lot of his matches. However, his first has to do with his big Protoss army. He's going for the counterattack. It's pretty well defended at that third base.
Well, we've got the big commitment here from Haas. These Stalkers also have +1 attack. I mean, YoGer is trying to tech up into a Spire right now, and as a general rule of thumb, if you're teching up and you're under attack with a huge army, that's generally bad for you. I mean, also the biggest factor here is that you're just on roaches against an army that's specifically built to defeat exactly that. And Haas manages to take game one. A pretty convincing game one from Haas. I didn't actually think, I can't remember a moment in that game where I felt like YoGer had the advantage. It felt like it was the Haas show from the start of the game to the end.
Yeah, I got the same vibe there. I mean, he really never had any control. He didn't really have an opportunity for effective harass against Haas, and he just got kind of stuck defending. And that is a hard build to deal with because you have Oracle and then Adept and then TT in a Warp Prism. It's like it's almost like the maximum you could have coming at you at once at that point in the game. So I'm not sure what the answer to that is for YoGer, because this one push was really his only hope to try and get the damage done.
I mean, this is kind of the relationship in ZVP with the Adept Printer build. The Adept Printer follow-up usually forces the Zerg to make just so many roaches as a response, and then they just use that extra bit of gas. They might have to have 3 gases or so to get their Ravagers up. And they're like, well, I have a giant army. Everything in my brain is screaming at me to go for a counterattack. And, you know, the Protoss can blindly expect it. And they'll often be making Immortals and as we saw in Haas's case, even getting Blink Stalkers with upgrades here to be able to just engage that army. And if you have micro ability, like if you're one of those players that has incredibly good micro, then the Stalkers can trade forever. They can do this all day, just like Captain America against those Roaches, no problem. And the Ravager Biles, I mean, forget about it. They just blink out of that as well.
Yeah,
So you need like a good number of Lings and Banes as well, I feel, to make that work.
Yeah, a lot of people have been playing that that Roachling Bane Ravager style. It's just real heavy hitter units, really chunky. So even the splash can have a bit of trouble against it. You know, usually the Protoss is looking for those huge storms on a cluster of Banelings or something. But yeah, I feel like YoGer didn't really get to play his game in that scenario. He just got kind of thrown around by Haas, and then he just went, well, better do something with the roaches I've got, or I'm in big trouble. I reckon he probably looked at his drone count as well and went, 45 really isn't going to cut it against a 65 to 70 probe Protoss.
Yeah, at that point, when you've let Haas get that far, it is pretty nuts. The Adepts managed to just shut him down completely. It is just unfortunate with that Adept thing that it can be really frustrating not only to play against, but to watch, in the sense that if it snowballs in the Adept's favor, it's just incredibly hard to recover from it as a Zerg. So I feel for Zergs in that regard. But, you know, Zergs had 2019, so do I really feel bad? Probably not.
Telling it like it is. Let's hop into Eternal Empire now for map number 2 and see if our Zerg friend here can get some points on the board. But first, in the bottom left in the red trunks, he is Haas.
And he's on match point here against this fine gentleman in the top right. He's playing the Zerg pieces, and I'm just memeing, Zerg friends. I love you all. It is YoGer, the blue Zerg, the challenger. Young buck against old man Haas here. 21-year-old against a 23-year-old.
How ridiculous is that?
The grasshopper against the kung fu master, the grand master.
Yeah.
Do you remember being 23 or 21 at that fact?
I do, because it wasn't quite as long ago for me as it was for you.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, okay. I mean, you're right, but damn, I know you didn't intend shade, but it feels like shade. I actually vividly remember my 21st. My 21st, I remember that.
Yeah, I didn't. I spent a lot of time playing video games and like playing Magic the Gathering at uni. That was me at that age, I think.
Wow, that's nerdy as hell.
Yeah, I was super cool and I had a lot of friends.
I've missed casting with you, Zeph. It's been too long. When was the last time? It's been too long. What that doesn't even matter what the answer is. The answer is just
I think I popped in for like one Limo with you maybe early this year. I'm not even sure.
You know what we did? No, I remember what we did. We did a yes, I think we did an Alima League when you had like a day off,
Yeah, it was a public holiday as
something
well,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
We should do it again,
Good
man. I'm
times.
working for it. I'm
Hell
really
yeah,
enjoying
yeah,
it.
let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's make a date. So we got a
I can
proxy
fit it
file on here
into
from Hust.
yeah. What do you reckon he's gonna follow up with here with this? Because we've seen proxy gateway for extra warp ins, but
Stargate, I think.
yeah, there we go.
So proxy Stargate, this just means oracles. It is very close to the natural, and such a weird, I guess, timing to get that proxy Stargate out on the map. Was that shortly after the Cybercore? I mean, I guess it was, so maybe it's not that weird of a timing, but you know, YoGer, it got scouted earlier, and he knows that he's not gone for a crazy like pull first, early pull, something like that. So Haas feeling confident that he can get away with this and just send in those first couple of adepts for very light pressure, a dash of pressure, a sprinkle.
Yeah. He'd probably be able to at least maybe get a drone pull or two if he dives in deep. But it looks like he's gonna content himself with poking at the third hatchery for the moment. The thing I really like about the proxy Stargate is that it's in such an obvious place that you wouldn't really expect to see unless he happens to path the overload down there. So I think that's going to pay off pretty well for Haas because YoGer he would have needed to have spores already or, start thinking about having those queens in position. And he's going to be a little bit busy paying attention to those depths as well. So let's see how many kills this might be able to rack up for him. Spores just happening.
I reckon this might be a pretty good oracle for Haas. That spore crawler on the way and only one queen to fight back. I'm not going to cut the mustard. 5 drones go down and that oracle leaves with quite a few hit points left over. And when those shields recharge, that's an absolute threat here. And now YoGer's going to have to worry about that oracle. And also, like you mentioned, Zeph, these cheeky little adepts, they're finding an angle.
Get at least one drone. And they can always micro back. If he really wants to save him, he can recall him. But with the lings surrounding, they're going to die too quickly, and they will finally be taken off the map. A second oracle is on the way here. I'm hoping he's going to stop there. I don't think he's going to like super commit like Nice did because that's usually like a 2+ Stargate kind of thing. But we do see him dropping the Twilight.
Yes, indeed. And get rid of that Overlord poking around that natural here. And in comes our Resonating Glaives here, the Twilight Council upgrade of the month, or of the year so far. 2020 has been rife with these adepts with the Resonating Glaives.
Yeah, they've really been a thing lately, and I don't fault Haas for going for it again here because, I mean, the first game went so well. It's back to the old, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And, the early game here has also been pretty well, gone well for him. It's 7 workers killed, and he's still got both oracles alive, and he's about to come with a whole lot of adepts. He's got a third base coming. So YoGer needs a way of dealing with this a little bit more effectively than the last time. The good thing is we already see like a whole lot of roaches in production, so he should be well prepared by the time any adepts start warping in on his side of the map.
And it always feels a little bit nicer to be able to do that, to get the roach massing happening on a decent drone count as well. Like it's at that phase of the game where it's not like that really early regular adept printer timing. It's a follow-up from a Stargate. So it's like he's going to have adepts, but is he going like super ham on them? Not really. He only has 5 warp gates. This is more for Haas to actually just poke. And I honestly don't see these adepts getting a ton done if YoGer just keeps on top of them.
With how early he made those roaches, I almost thought it could be worth poking on the other side of the map himself, because this is a time when Protoss doesn't have that much yet. They haven't really gotten into investing into the robotics units yet. They're not going to have a lot of beef out on the ground. However, that has its own risks. You pass the adepts on your way and suddenly they're in your mineral line. You will lose more than the Protoss does. And these oracles managing to find 3 more kills.
Yeah, they certainly do, and they're still alive. There is a Spire halfway done here for YoGer, and that's when the Stargate units will start to become less useful, especially considering Haas doesn't have a Stargate and he can't make Phoenixes or anything like that. So I feel like going for a Spire here is actually a really solid choice. It's going to take a little bit for YoGer to feel comfortable enough to have those Spire units matter, He still definitely needs to get those rounds of roaches out, so I'm pleased to see those getting produced still for YoGer, because there is a real threat of a push from Haas within the next minute.
Yeah, +1 finishing up with the blink, and Colossus starting to come out here as well. And yeah, I would love to see YoGer get these mutas out and work with them a little bit, because this seems to be very much his thing. He loves mutas. I've seen him do it in ZVT and ZVZ. I could only assume that he liked to do it in ZVP as well. And here we see him pulling 10 of those straight out, and hopefully he can get some
Oh my
damage
god.
done.
What is this? I don't think I've ever seen Haas make a 4th base before. He starts 2 Stargates, so I think he just saw the Spire, so he's not going to move out here. Starting a 4th means that he just wants to chill. But okay, he's hallucinating Phoenix, sees the Spire. That's why we're seeing that double Stargate. So Haas is just going to keep these Blinkstalkers at home. They've got +1. And he does have a few shield batteries, so he's going to be on the defensive here.
I can't believe I spoke too soon on the double or triple Stargate.
Yeah.
Oh, Haas, I love it. All right. Well, he's going to come in here and actually not find many places to poke. Haas is well prepared. He's got cannons coming up. He's got shield batteries, and he's got stalkers in position. One cannon does just get denied there, but Haas has the main bulk of his force there and is able to poke them away for the moment.
Yeah. And he's just buying time for the double Phoenix. He's even getting a Fleet Bacon sizzling in the pan here to get the Anion Pulse Crystals for those Phoenixes. I mean, it's not the wrong call. YoGer is clearly committing to these mutalisks. He's getting +1 attack on the Spire, as well as continuing to amass them and just making mutas and drones at the moment.
Yeah, and it's extraordinarily difficult to commit to a fight against Phoenixes, so you're more looking at either Haas making a huge mistake or just avoiding them and going for the counterattack. Doing an okay job here, maybe getting a pylon, a few probes. It's a good start. And getting on out of there before things get too serious.
Yeah, he's finding any free damage he can without losing too many mutts. One goes down, second one goes down. Oh, I mean, these mutas are not free. They feel like they should be a lot cheaper than they are, but they're 100-100, just like in Brood War. So losing them is a little painful. Does get some probes, does get some pylons, of course. So it's not like he's, just throwing them away. There's that Anion Pulse Crystals, which we definitely expected.
Ooh, I like this a lot. Gotta be careful with these mutas. It's a little bit too gung-ho. At the same time, he's gonna attack into the 4th. I like the multi-pronged moves, but I don't want to see him lose too many mutas for the sake of attacking in here, especially with the Phoenixes coming in. He's already lost 10 mutas.
Yeah, 10 muta kills. That's really expensive. I mean, it's, just talking about how much that is. That's 1,000 minerals, 1,000 gas. Tons of resources here from YoGer. He is able to get very close to max, though, and he does have a 5th hatchery on his side of the map. So he can throw some units away, but if he keeps throwing them away and keeps throwing them away and keeps throwing away, I'm going to get more and more worried for YoGer, because it's not like he's maxed out amassing a bank with like Hive and a plan B on the way. I like that he's throwing in Corruptors, because the Phoenixes with Anion Pulse Crystals should never lose an engagement here. But it does feel like he's thrown maybe a little bit too much away at the moment, giving a little bit of freedom to Haas to continue making that ball of units.
Yeah, up until when he just had to fly away with his mutas, then he had actually traded a little more efficiently than Haas had. Losing all those mutas on the retreat really hurts, but maybe he can get some counter damage done. He's got a lot of ground army coming along right here. If he can get into a mineral line, if he can find some straggler units, even a nice surround could really make a difference. But Haas's vision is really good, and he's not really giving him an inch or anywhere to sort of poke in and get some damage done.
He's not giving him an inch or even a sensible unit of measurement.
Nope.
Ling's coming in towards that natural with a big swarm coming on the right side. The air units as well. YoGer coming in from multiple angles. The Lings actually pull out of the natural here. He feels like he can't get a whole lot done. The Phoenixes have been replenished. Of course, the Corruptors can take a beating or two from those Phoenixes, but the Stalkers, though, do that bonus damage to armor. They're going to start plucking them from the skies.
Yeah, YoGer's still having trouble engaging that head on. But I do feel like he's got a bit of a better hold on this game than he had before. He's got almost an 80 drink economy, and he's maxed out. So from here, his mining helps him bank up a little bit. He can keep pumping those upgrades, and perhaps he can pick away at Haas. Like, this is a much nicer game than the one we saw at in game 1, when he just got kind of wrecked in terms of the economy, got stuck on 45 drones. So this style is very, very formidable. He just needs to keep picking things off and hopefully not losing too many of the air units himself.
One of the strongest things that YoGer can do right now with his sort of like tech switch up is to drop an infestation pit and maybe try and go up into hive. But I mean, Haas is almost maxed, and when the Protoss is maxed, they go across the map. And this is a pretty scary army from Haas, even though he's down a little bit of army supply. Keep in mind, the army supply of YoGer is, it compromises of a lot of Mutalisks and Corruptors that I feel like aren't too useful right now. Oh, nice catch on the Baneling run by attempt from YoGer. Great movement with these Phoenixes from Haas, ever active. Big attack on the right side. In come those Mutas. Damn, that's a lot of Mutalisks, Seth. I gotta say, that's more than I expected. And the Phoenixes are returning. The Banelings looking for that probe line.
Oh, those Banelings died for basically 3 beautiful force fields from Haas there. Just complete denial of the ground army. And with that, suddenly, I think YoGer just shoots forward like 3,000 resources lost. He's playing this very gas-heavy style. You notice his bank. It's pretty small. It's pretty light on gas. Yeah. It's just all into Corruptors and Mutas and Banelings.
Yeah, he's like hand to mouth with this gas. It's a little bit too crazy on the spending. He's not saving for a rainy day, which unfortunately means that his Hive transition isn't going to be as convincing. In fact, we might not even see Hive units in this game, as Haas is knocking on that front door, and he's knocking hard with a lot of Colossi. He has force fields available as well to keep those Banelings out of the mix, but some of them bleed in through. They managed to get through the force fields. They didn't completely get blocked off, so the Corruptors are actually picking off the Colossi. There's a lot of Corruptors here, Zeph. He can beat the Phoenixes, but what about the Stalkers and the Archons? That's where I get worried.
The Queens are helping out a lot. Some nice beam hits there as well, but there's still a fair chunk of ground army here for Haas. It's not that big, but it's a better army than what YoGer has left. The Corruptors are kind of dead weight at the moment, and only Queens are holding the fort. He's gonna need these Lings to clean this up, so hopefully they can work some magic here. Queens targeting down the Archons, which is really nice. He's just barely not able to seal the deal here.
Yeah, this is a little bit too much from Haas. Unfortunately, lost his Observer there to the Spore Crawler. He's lost his Archons. But it's just a lot of Blink Stalkers that are honestly in too big of an entrenched position. And the Blink control from Haas, good enough to continue to trade against these Roaches. And when you're in a situation as a Zerg player, I don't care what level you are, if you are a 6.5k MMR player or a 4.5k MMR player or a 2.5k, if you are bleeding in 1 unit at a time, everything that comes out just dies immediately because there's an army right in front of it, which has been happening for the past 30 seconds for YoGer. That is terrible for you. It's never good. You need to take a break with your rallies and keep them safe from those units. But at the same time, you're desperate to get them off your front door. So it's kind of like a bit of a catch-22 there.
Well, you know what? He's still got a strong economy, and he took 2 more bases during that, so it's not like he's running out of mining anytime soon. He's sticking to his guns with this mass meter composition, adding in some more Banelings as well. But I agree. I'd like to see a little bit more Hive action here. Haas is going to keep pushing, and this Stalker Archon army isn't actually as convincing as like the big Protoss ball, but it's more than YoGer seems to want to engage right now.
This hatchery looks like it's in a ton of trouble. There aren't that many Archons, so a good cluster of Lings I could see maybe taking a fight here, but it feels like I'm clutching at straws. Oh my god, those Archons deleted those drones.
Yeah, not ideal. And he's just sort of patrolling around the map, seeing what he can pick off at the moment with that Stalker squad. More and more mutas being made. He'll be up to over 20 once these extra 9 pop. And he has lost 55 mutas this game. Gosh, that's a number to choke on right there. So he definitely needs all this mining. He can't be having to replace drones at this time in the game.
One muta getting plucked there for free. Oh my god, so many drones, so many probes rather just died to a Baneling run by.
Nicely done from YoGer.
Plus 2 attack Banes. Not bad.
Is
it enough?
Well, there's a lot more Archons in this composition now, and he's just going pure Stalker Archons, starting to add some charge slots in, rather normal Zealots because they don't have their legs yet. But this is still a pretty scary push. He's relying a lot on the mutas and Banes here.
Oh my god, that's too many Stalkers. That's so many Stalkers. And they're so heavily upgraded. They got +3 attack. And there's even a couple Archons here. If that first line of Stalkers goes down, there's Archons and then another cluster of Stalkers back behind them. Jeez, it's like a mosh pit over here.
Oh, make it stop. Oh, my God, he's going down fast. He's a monster. He's too good, man. 2-0 for Haas.
Damn. Haas takes the 2-0 and gets out to the winners match. I say he's not out of nothing yet, but he's in the winners match, which we'll be getting to another time. I got ahead of myself there. Woo! Calm down, Maynard. Haas has still got a bit more work ahead of him. But Zeph, is Haas a macro player now? Did you notice how both those games were macro games? I mean, yeah, he opened with a forge. You know, he was threatening a cannon rush. He didn't actually do it though.
Yeah, well, it's like the Haas flavored macro though. Like he's still a little cheeky.
He did proxy a Stargate, yeah. It's like he's a macro player, but with a little bit of he's a little caliente, you know, a little bit of hot sauce on that macro. Yeah.
Seasoning those builds a little bit to perfection, which I think is still just super fun, and that's why we love Haas and love casting his matches. So congratulations to him taking out his opponent there. And I believe that's our last match for the Taiwan and Hong Kong and Macau region for tonight. Not sure if there was a result from the other stream at the moment, so you check that out if you're still got a hankering for more DreamHack qualifiers at the moment. But yeah, pretty fun match here. I mean, I love the muta style from YoGer. He just couldn't quite make it work. I feel like he just got thwarted at every turn by Haas.
Yeah, I mean, I find it so hard just to imagine a Mutalist player winning against a guy that has double Stargate with Anion Pulse Crystal Phoenixes. I think Haas even got +1. Yeah, I can even see at the bottom there. He got +1 attack for those Phoenixes, so they just even have that little bit of extra bite against those Mutts. And if you can give Haas an excuse to just mass Blinkstalkers, he'll do it. He's like, he's one of like the top 5 Protosses in the world. You don't want to give an excuse to make Blinkstalkers. Parting is obviously #1, but Haas is in the top 5.
Yeah, that's no joke. I mean, this engagement here looked like YoGer could have taken it out, right? But it just seemed to have that little bit of extra power that he couldn't quite overcome.
Oh, and
that led to this, snowballing effect of the Blinkstalkers.
It's not every day